So sorry I didn't start this earlier, but welcome again, everybody who's joining us here tonight. And when we share this out, we'll share out the link to the film so you can watch it again or share it with friends and family. But that was a really great film. I think they did a really nice job, and I'd be curious to hear what everyone else is thinking and thinking after watching that. And we'll just kind of open it up. Feel free to unmute or put stuff in the chat, and let's talk about fashion and what we can do here in Milwaukee. Does anybody have any great tips and tricks that they have done for any places where they get like used clothing, or places where they have taken their gently used clothes to get them a new life? Let's have a little audience sharing first, and then we can dive in and talk about the upcoming UEC clothing swap.
Our family, and I grew up wearing mostly used clothes and donating what we don't need. One thing that I've been doing lately is taking old clothing to a fabric recycler. And I think that Goodwill also takes their clothing that they don't put out on the floor to a fabric recycler as well. But it's right in Glendale, and they have a drop box. So I just collect up, fabric. In fact, there's a bag in my car right now to go over there and put it in that drop box.
That's awesome. Thanks, Melanie. And so then those fibers get broken down and turned into new fibers, right? Is that the idea behind that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it sometimes it just gets shredded into stuffing for other things, stuffed things.
Sure. That I think is especially a great place to get rid of those things that like you can't really like give to someone else, right? Like your old underwear and stuff like that. Like nobody's gonna reuse that, but better than throwing it away,
Yeah, holy socks and stuff like that. I'm also a huge mender. That's like in the winter, I mend socks and gloves and clothing and
awesome. Yeah, keep those
things last a lot longer.
Keep them going as long as you can.
Plus, it's like a Zen activity.
For sure. I recently attempted to patch up all the holes in my jeans. Some people
can't stand it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, James, go ahead.
So first of all, that was great. That video was awesome. What it brought up though, which is ironic because I brought this up to Eric already, is extended producer responsibility laws, which I think are a fantastic way of addressing a lot of these issues. So hopefully, if I can continue getting in Eric's ear, he'll let me draft something of that sort that we could try to bring to legislature at some point. Secondly, I have a really different perspective on clothes because actually when I was growing up, my mom was a seamstress. So that's somebody that sews things, right? She'll do like things like pillows or quilts and stuff like that, but she made all our clothes. So I grew up wearing like homemade clothes. So like when you go to school and you see that everybody else is wearing the brand name, I can see how the commercialism of it sets into, but like having all this crazy new fibers and fabrics that are made out of plastics or whatnot is really foreign to me, because like it seems ridiculous that we can't patch stuff, can't fix things anymore. We don't know what our stuff is made out of. So it's just ironic for me, because coming from like having stuff made at home to what we have now, which I can't lie. I mean, I have like tech gear. It keeps me dry when I'm outside playing around in nature. But I sure would like to have a nicer version of that. So this is, I've always known about Patagonia's really progressive approach towards things. And obviously we know about the owner that just, set up the trust fund thing or whatnot. Lots to be done. So that was my 2 bits on everything. Sorry. I guess I rambled your ears off.
That's all right. Thank you. And for those of you who don't know, James works with the Environmental Collaboration Office for the city of Milwaukee. And so, yeah, talking about extended producer responsibility, the city has some opportunities to make some things happen. And I would be really curious, James, we should look up that law that they were working on in New York and see what the status of that is, and if it if it's something that we can use as a model here in Milwaukee. We're not a big fashion industry town.
Well, I have information from the California EPR bill they passed, actually, and I think that's very mimicable.
Great. Yeah, no need to reinvent the wheel, right? Let's take what's already out there and see what we can do to apply it here in Milwaukee.
It's easier to copy because it already passed somewhere.
Right? Like, this has been done and it can be done here. We just need to do it. And I saw in the chat, some folks were talking about ThreadUp. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with that, it's like an online thrift shop. I've used it before as well. And they'll send you a big bag, and you can just mail back all of your gently used items, and they'll resell them. And then you can shop on their online store as well. So that's definitely a great, if you're into the online shopping, that's a great resource.
One concern I've always had with that is the impact of the shipping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even if they're not packaging it in plastic, there's fossil fuels involved in transporting that. So if you can find thrifted stuff locally, that's the way to go. I also used to do like Fashion Ninja when my daughter was small. We'd have craft night at our house. I'm an artist, so I make a lot of stuff. And I taught all the kids how to use a sewing machine and knit. But we would have them like take old blue jeans and turn them into little hats or purses and bags and stuff like that. And I think teaching kids like how to do that kind of stuff. I think not as many people, like James's mom sewed, not as many people have a lot of like seamstress skills anymore. So going back to some of that is a great way to do it, because sometimes you see things at a resale shop and
they don't have home ec class anymore. That's why. Yeah,
I know. It's fun now because my daughter is an adult and she is like a big clothing hacker. And it's awesome to see what she comes up with.
Yeah, that's super fun. We've just been taught that that's not a necessary skill anymore because clothes are cheaper and that we can just go buy them, right? And so like that's part of the problem, is that we've lost that skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I personally, for myself, I found out that no matter what range of clothing I have, I always reach for the first 5 or 6 in a drawer. And I repeatedly wear those, and that can change based on, like maybe the season or the month or like a new t-shirt that I have. And so I just have stopped buying clothes many, many years ago, because I realized if I have 5 clothes and I'm going to wear those, that's all I need at some point, I think, no more than that. And leggings, once you have a black legging, you can use those in many multi ways. And so how many black leggings do you need? 1 is good. And so and second thing is I hate shopping. So I think that helps in my advantage to not like buy more clothes. But locally, I think ThreadUp and all like are great when you're looking for something like an investment, like a good winter jacket or something like that. But otherwise, there are local Facebook groups too that I see myself buying for my child, Kids Cycle and women's clothing group and places like that, where you're at least buying something that's used and it's local. So maybe the carbon footprint is slightly lesser than shipping it. But I think the key is just really looking at how many number of clothings do you need. In Wisconsin, we do have to wear different seasons and seasonal clothing, so that adds to it. But still, I think 1 good jacket and 1 that's the principle I go. But again, because I hate shopping.
I'm the same way, Mina. It definitely helps reduce my clothing footprint. Liz, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I had a couple comments too. I hate shopping too, so I'm right there. And our children are in, their late 20s, but we have set aside their shirts and stuff that weren't damaged at all and kept them in Rubbermaids and stuff. And it's really my husband and I that wear their old t-shirts, and we wear the heck out of them. I mean, so now we have these crazy rock t-shirts that we're still wearing, but it's cool. We're happening. It's, not quite the fashion statement. I was also thinking about, I remember hearing about how blue jeans were being recycled into insulation, home insulation. And I'm wondering if that's still something that's happening, because blue jeans are a gigantic problem in themselves. They're cotton and plastic and everything too, and they're worldwide. And like you, James, I'm really concerned about the extended producer responsibility and trying to learn how we can bring that to Wisconsin. And have been talking to Beyond Plastics about that as well. From what I understand, there's a ban on bans in Wisconsin. So that's kind of a difficult.
That is the preemptive ban, actually. Yes.
Okay.
We're not allowed to ban any material or container.
Oh, well, okay.
Right.
Well, we can get around that.
That's helpful.
There's got to be some way to get around it. But yeah, I'm really hoping we can solve that.
Can I tell you guys a quick funny story about that?
Yeah, let's let Joanne jump in first.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Minal and I worked together on the Boomerang Bags project and with Bring Your Bags Shorewood, and we did a lot of research, and other people that we worked with did a lot of research into the plastic bag bans that are popping up around the country and around the world. And one problem in Wisconsin is that there are a lot of plastic manufacturers here, and they're very powerful, and including Ron Johnson is a big one. And so it's going to be tough to get anything through the legislature until there are people there who are going to listen and care. And right now they don't. So that's a big issue, and it's a big hurdle.
Yeah, definitely. That's and it's not going to go anywhere soon. And that definitely didn't change yesterday. So we gotta keep getting out there and keep voting to get some new folks in our state assembly so that we can eventually get that changed. But we're not the only. There's a lot of states that have that preemptive ban. They're not allowed to make those changes either, which is it just makes it really difficult. So I know, like, the film talked a lot about legislation as a key piece to getting this right. Like, individuals, like, what we're all doing is great, but it's not going to fix the problem. We really need legislation, and we need extended producer responsibility, and we need all those bigger pieces, those systemic pieces, to really make it easier. On that jeans conversation as well, there's a film that we've also talked about sharing that is specifically on, like, the production of clothing and, like, the dyes and things. And I've seen, like, I can't think of what the name of the film is off the top of my head, but they have, like, images of just, like, bright blue water just being poured into rivers, and it's the effluent from jeans production and all the dye that's used to go into our denim, and just, like, the production of clothing itself is really environmentally harmful as well. In addition, so, like, even the stuff that is more cotton can be really harmful as well. I'm seeing some really good resources being put in the chat. Recycled denim kitchen towels, those sound great. Retique, I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it, in the 3rd Ward. And then 5th Main in Thanesville, or Nearly New in Mequon. So there's some other places. I know there's several thrift stores in the city of Milwaukee as well. So yeah, lots of options there. And I know, you mentioned like online groups too. And I know I'm a part of a couple different Buy Nothing groups on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, those are groups that, I gave away I cleaned out my closets before I moved. I gave away a ton of clothes that I hadn't worn in years to those groups. And then I know a lot of people get stuff from those as well. And I think also like Craigslist, if you're not a Facebook person, you can always try like the Craigslist free cycle shops and stuff like that. And yeah. Any other comments or questions that people want to throw in there, and then we can talk about the upcoming clothing swap. Yeah. Oh, James, I want to hear your story. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I have 2 comments now too, though. So Joanne, you're correct about the legislation being difficult to pass, but as was mentioned in the film, it takes like a year to a year and a half to get the legislation in place in the first place, which I think is why we need to start it now and hope for better things in the future where we could at least get it in front of them. And there is actually a benefit to putting legislation through, even if it doesn't pass, because then you have documented records of how people voted. And that helps people make better decisions down the line on who they want to vote for. So I think the legislation will take time, and I hope we can get into place, but I think we need to start on it now. My funny story for you, though, because Liz brought up the ban of bans, is that you're not allowed to ban a material or a container. We can't require any establishment to not use things. We don't have the ability to tell them what material or container they can use. We can do that to ourselves in the city. And so styrofoam is actually banned on city property. Although I'll leave it at that. So we're not allowed to use that material. The funny thing about the container part about it is we were able to ban one thing, and that's straws. Because since it's open on both ends, it's technically not a container because it doesn't contain anything. So plastic straws are actually banned in the city of Milwaukee. And I personally wrote a letter to every single restaurant and bar in the city to let them know that.
Yeah, and that was really great. And that also it got at least 6 businesses to join the Lake Friendly program, which was awesome. So like they were just like, yeah, we're already doing these great things. Like, can we be part of this? We're like, heck yeah. So that was a really great, impactful letter. There's still a lot of businesses that didn't read your letter, James, and still are using straws. But that's where some of our volunteers and our actions can come in, and we can help spread the word about that.
There was a state, I don't remember, I think it was a state senator who tried to introduce legislation a few years ago. I have a copy of it. I think I still have a copy of it, and so I know who the sponsors were back then. If you want, I could send it to you if I can find
Sure.
it. Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Who should I send it to? Should I send it to?
I'll put my email in the chat and you can send it to
Okay.
me. Thank you. All right, let's hear about this clothing swap. I'm really excited to learn more about it.
This is good. Y'all, thank you for coming. And also this conversation could extend to midnight, so get comfortable. But I just want to acknowledge y'all are sharing so many resources, and we're all just always in this wheel learning our own ways of how we can get better and do this. But I just wanted to first say, again, this is not on our own personal consumerist behaviors, but also it's okay to celebrate our own personal goals of how we can each make that individual change. And from what I've heard with Plastic Free Milwaukee, it seems like that's what we're doing. It does take legislation, it does take bigger steps and better people in office, but for now, what I can do in my own kitchen, my home, and then also bring my friends and create this sort of culture of it's not everything, but we can do what we can and not feel bad about it, but celebrate it. That's kind of the theme of today. So with our clothing swaps, this came about I got into this position in April, and I was like, I want to create a community event. And I know for myself, there's a lot of how do we bring people into a space? And I was really inspired actually with with the Plastic Free Milwaukee Things swap that happened at Urban Ecology Center. And it was just this is everything I'm doing online with Marketplace, and this is everything we're doing already with Buy Nothing pages. But the in-person community aspect of someone shaking a pepper grinder and being take it home was just the most thrilling social thing that had happened maybe in 6 weeks, and it's okay. I'm happy and well, but like that really was such a highlight. That I was like, we're doing clothing swaps, and I accidentally planned 2 of them due to just me accidentally sending both proposed dates and learning that we needed to make the last one very quickly. So I was so lucky to have Tyler Vinca, who is in the chat today. And I want to chat a little bit more about how this came of like fast pivot. We need to make a clothing swap. I've been to clothing swaps with like friends in like a living room, but never did I know there was such a culture or like many cultures around it of like, there are some with very strict rules, and all of a sudden I was getting these phone calls that were like, is this swap one where you have tickets? And I just immediately got on Google and was like, this is way bigger than I think. I was just kind of thinking we'd like throw some stuff on clothes on tables. And then with Tyler's help, we really wanted to make this a community event where we were not just dumping. We instead were going to spend time. And that's a tricky thing to have people ask of them of like, come drop off your clothes, but then also please spend time and get to know like what's happening to your clothing or like who's taking it. And then also my dog is snoring, sorry. But with that, we wanted to be mindful of adding a few things to our clothing swap. So like equity was one. We wanted to make sure this was like an equal playing field. So instead of dropping off bags and bags of clothing and just like, goodbye, I've done my good deed, it will go on, and not really seeing that. It's kind of what we do sometimes when we drop off at Goodwill and other things, and that happens. That's just part of it. But instead, like engaging with your community. There was one small story of this lady that came in and was like, I don't really need clothes, but I'll drop them off for you. And it was this piece of, we don't need to know who might need a new sweater to be warmer this winter. And I don't need to know that maybe someone's feeling a little tight on not having pants that feel good to them or feel good to their body at the time. I don't need to know any of that. Instead, we're all just hanging out and kind of celebrating these like new finds of clothing that have maybe new purpose, or we have the autonomy of like, this is for me now. And in addition to a clothing swap, it's fun shopping because you pick up a pair of pants and you non-consensually, everyone in the room turns and says, yes, that's perfect for you. And it's a little bit pressured to take that on. But so we made sure that we had signage based off of like how to lay out our clothing swap. And this is for anyone that's interested in organizing this in the future, like making sure it's very like positive body language. We might not know that ourselves, but making that language available through signage of like, this is how we only talk about our bodies, and it starts with us before we talk about anyone else's. We wanted to make sure that as a host, we were providing resources of where the clothes were going to go after, and then also be a resource for people to learn what to do with their clothes when there was no clothing swap available. And essentially just kind of creating a community space where we were celebrating. I met people. I helped pick out someone's 16th birthday party dress that they were going to wear. We had some amazing volunteers that like asked to come back. People are very interested in being part of this little circle. But I think being a host was great, but I think this can get even bigger, or the more we like celebrate it as far as like, this is a piece of fashion too. And having folks and having their kids come and have autonomy to like, I'm choosing this for myself to wear, was a really big thing. But I think that's all I had to share. I want to leave a little space if Tyler or anyone who was at the swap wants to share anything. It's going to be happening on December 3rd. If anyone's really interested in being like an organizer with it, it's so helpful to have people kind of just like talk and spread why we're doing this. There's a lot of confusion that's coming in for folks that have never been to a clothing swap before, and just kind of like encouraging this is for everyone. It's not for a need. It's like we're just spending time together in this space. December 3rd.
Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to add, there was this other piece where I think there was a lot more intention because you were able to meet the person that this piece of clothing came from. So when you like go to Goodwill, for example, you're picking something, it's used and it's wonderful, but you're picking something off the rack, and that community element at the clothing swap was really great. I also wanted to add, because I've at the end of that movie, the soundtrack was really good. I just have to say on the movie, it was really good. But also at the end, they briefly talked about mending, and then I really appreciated everybody sharing their experience with mending. And I'm a fiber artist, and I love to sew and do all things mending. And we are at the Urban Ecology Center. We are also going to be hosting a mindful mending bi-weekly get together. It'll be Wednesdays and it starts November 3rd. I can put the details in the chat, but it's kind of an extension of this clothing swap where the most sustainable form of fashion is taking care of what you already have. So making it a community, a nice space for people to come in and socialize while doing something intentional is the goal. So we're gonna get cozy, have a fire going, some hot cocoa, some good conversation. People can bring their projects, or no skill is required. We can all help each other through to sew up our socks. But yeah, that's all I have.
That's so amazing. I really love both of those things. I love that building the community around it. I think that's really important, and I really want to help encourage that in Milwaukee. Feel free to share the details of both of those things on the plastic free members group, or share it with us, and Jules and I can put that on the plastic free social media stuff too, and we can put in newsletters. Let us know about this stuff, because we'll definitely share that out. Same Aaron, we had no idea who was going to come to the stuff swap. We did it in August. It was the last day of August. And we're we just wanted to do this. So it started as a back to school thing, and then just kind of morphed into just everybody bring their stuff. Let's just find stuff, some new homes. We had no idea who was going to come. We've never done one before. We didn't know how to organize it. So yeah, I would love to we want to do more because people really liked it. So I would love to partner with UAC more on those and get more of them and do them at different locations around the city so that they're easy for folks to get to. But my favorite story from the stuff swap was we had a ton of people came, a ton of people just left their stuff and then took off and maybe picked up a couple of things. Some people stayed for a while and chit-chatted, and we definitely did some some community building. But my favorite thing was a woman came. She didn't think she was going to be able to come, but she wound up going for a walk at the Urban Ecology Center with her family. So she stopped by, and she talked to me. She's like, I have a free cycle shop on Center Street. Can I take everything that's left at the end of today? And our plan had just been to bring things to Goodwill, because we didn't have a really good outlet for the rest of the stuff that was left. We had no idea how much was going to be left. There were two sisters there who had brought stuff from their whole network of resharing stuff, and so they had a ton of things, and then a bunch of other people. So the whole tent at UAC was full, and this woman was just yep, just bring it all by my shop at Center Street tomorrow, and I will free cycle all of it. So it's called For Martha. I'll put it in the chat. This is the name of her community center. She has space available to rent. It's a resale shop. She's trying to build community. It's on North Center Street. I forget the address. I'll have to look it up. But she also does free cycling. And so she has very inside it's for sale, outside it's free. And she said her neighbors just all know. I brought her an entire car full of stuff. The two sisters brought her an entire car full of stuff. And that was everything that was left from the stuff swap. She texted me throughout. Thank you so much, James. She texted me throughout progress reports through the next couple of days. In a day and a half, every single thing that we had brought her found a new home, in addition to all the stuff that had found new homes the day of the event. And it was just amazing. I was just so inspired by her and so grateful for her for taking that on and taking all those things and finding them new life. And it was just really nice random connection. She just happened to be there for a walk with her new grandchild and family, and was just really excited to connect with us. And so yeah, I love the community that we're building around some of this stuff, because it's so important. Yeah, go ahead, Erin.
Yeah, and that just kind of sparked something for me of like, and just we are creating like a celebration around it, and this like positive, this is also a trend as much as fast fashion is as well. I mean, even if you look at Target right now, it all looks like it's thrifted clothes. Like they're trying to keep up with this. So uh just keeping that celebration aspect in mind, and like you're saying, like kind of being strategic of like where do we have these spaces where we're sharing, and it's maybe not a space that feels like greener than thou, but instead like just like an urban ecology center backyard tent where we can catch people of like please have, and it's not a charity, and it's not a place where it's like for folks that need new clothes or it's helpful to families, and so it's like no, we're just like getting just as trendy as everyone else. So I think just kind of going about it in that aspect and keep shouting that of like, this is for everyone that wants to come. And this isn't a dump and go, or this is something where we're building community through like seeing the past of these items, and also like getting to like, what a success. I got rid of that sweater and now it's their favorite sweater. But so I'm really excited for clothing swaps to kind of take off a little bit more. If anyone's again interested in volunteering, it does become a lot of work unless you have a magical angel come at the end and take all of it to Center Street. So if anyone's interested in a few bags of that too, let me know. But yeah, we have a long way to go. But I think with a few little steps and like making some parties out of it, we can make some fun things happen.
For sure. And if you want, I have her contact information. I'm blanking on her name right now because my brain is just toast, but I will connect you with her because I feel like that could be a good connection for your clothing swaps as well if you're looking for an outlet for what's left. Yeah, any other thoughts or things to share? This has been such a lovely conversation, and I really appreciate you all being here this evening.
Can I share a quick cute picture?
No.
Yeah,
you don't.
absolutely.
Oh, yes, of course you can.
You see it?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, now I know. Of course, yeah, now you can.
Marianne, are
did
you
not
still
know.
wearing that shirt? Do you really like it?
Yeah, I like it.
That's awesome. That was super cute. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, it is 8:15. I do want to be mindful of people's evenings. Thank you for being here with us. If anyone else wanted to add any other comments or stay on a minute, we can stay here and wrap up our conversations. But thank you all so much for being here, for watching the film with us, for the great conversation. Thank you, Tyler and Aaron, for being here and talking about your awesome model and the clothing swap. And we'll definitely share that out and make sure everyone knows about it and can go and participate. And yeah, let's keep building this community of stuff swaps and clothing swaps and all that good stuff. I love it. Yeah, definitely a celebration.